Hello, everyone, and welcome to a very happy Sunday night edition of the TII podcast. My name is Craig Dennett, and I'm your host this evening as we look back over a tremendous day for Rangers, winning at Parkhead for the first time in 5 years, and a phenomenal way to do it as well with a 88th minute winner from Hamza Gaman straight into the top corner. I don't think we could have asked for much more. I'm joined by Tommy McIntyre and Kyran Wallace to sharing the joy and to talk through all the big moments of the day. Tommy, how you doing?
Happy as Larry. I mean, Rangers have played twice this week, and I am still very happy come the Sunday night. It's unheard of. And battering Celtic at Parkhead is always good.
Absolutely. We're also joined by Kyran. How you doing, Kyran?
Surprisingly, I'm unbelievable. I feel great. I wasn't expecting this whatsoever tonight when I got out of my bed this morning. I think I said to my wife this morning, I've got a pod tonight. This could be a nightmare. Just thinking that we had went 120 minutes or more than that on Thursday night to try and show up at Parkhead and pick up our first win in 5 years. You wouldn't bet on it, but I even started the garden today thinking, right, I'll pick this up after the game, and my barbecue's still in bits out there. As much as I've sat and watched Iggerman's replay over and over and over again, absolutely delighted.
Yeah, 100%. I think it caught us all by surprise, to be honest. Even when we scheduled who was on this podcast at the start of the month, I think there was a lot of dread and amongst the three of us when we saw that we were on this one.
I always felt that we were going to be talking about a win. That's exactly. I'm getting in early with
that. So let's get stuck into it, I guess. So 3-2 win for Rangers. We were 2-0 up, 1 point in the game. Kyran, start with you. What are your overall thoughts now? You've had a bit of time to think over the game, and I assume watch plenty of replays at the same time.
Thinking back and looking at it over the piece, I think Barry Ferguson deserves an unbelievable amount of credit for the way he's handled this week. And last Thursday as well, tactically, people really doubted him before he came on as interim boss. And I think today he got it absolutely spot on, especially when we were 2-0 up, because that's quite a tricky position to be in, going in at half-time at Celtic Park and then coming out the second half thinking, right, do we go stick or twist here? And then we go 2 each. And then he says, do you know what? I'm throwing another striker on here. I'm going for this. And do you know what? We rode our luck. We rode the storm out and we got what we deserved. Right over the piece with the deserved winners. As well with Thursday, right over the piece of the two legs and going through in penalties. We deserved that for a performance in Istanbul. So Barry Ferguson, over the past 10 days, as Rangers interim boss, has had an absolute blinder and it couldn't have went any better. So looking over the course today, best teams won today. We were outstanding.
Yeah, I thought we were outstanding today across the piece. Thursday night was a worry for me in terms of the impact it would have on the team today, and I think going into today I'd almost written us off a bit, to be honest, because of that. The 120 minutes, the adrenaline and emotions that come with a penalty shootout, whether you win or lose it. I think it was 56 hours recovery time or whatever it is. I know Real Madrid have put out a statement to their league basically saying they're not playing if there's a game scheduled within 72 hours of a European game. Maybe we should do the same, but we'll end up just playing on Mondays every week, won't we? So maybe it doesn't work. But yeah, I think
you're saying that the authorities in Scotland, from a football perspective, would not be supportive of Rangers flying the flag for Scotland and the coefficient in the latter stages of European knockout football.
I know that might come as a shock to people. I mean, given their previous history, they've been as supportive. So I know that will be a shock to many. But yes, that is indeed what I'm suggesting. But yes, so 12:30 kick-off, 56 hours or so after that. I was knackered after that game on Thursday night, never mind having played and ran about the park for that length of time and pressed and all that sort of stuff. So that was the worry for me, I think, going into this. And I think it did impact us, to be honest. Not in the first half. First half, I think, is where we saw the adrenaline come through, and we saw the atmosphere and the occasion and all that kind of lift us. Probably about the 60th minute markish, I just thought we looked out on our feet. dead on their feet. Barry Ferguson said in his post-match interview that he knew we'd get a second wind. I had no confidence that we'd get a second wind at any stage. So I was absolutely delighted with the overall performance. But Tommy, what about yourself? I mean, Kieran's right in terms of it being a big week for big 10 days for Barry Ferguson. He's probably surpassed all the expectations I had of him when he took over as interim manager. How big was today for him, and how big a week, 10 days has it been?
It's been huge. You guys nailed it. I'm not going to duplicate that, but yeah, he's come in. You're looking for that bounce, whatever. He's obviously. I think people should also be looking at the fact of how he's comporting himself, how he's holding himself in the job. I think he's surprised a lot of people with the way that he approaches the conversations and his articulation, etc. But yeah, I mean, you're going up against a good team in Fenerbahce, against Jose Mourinho, home and away, right? And you're going through in that tie, and deserved it. Yeah, you ride your luck a wee bit against all of these teams sometimes. So yeah, you tick that off and you go, wow, quarterfinals, European competition, amazing. And then we all know how difficult it is historically going to Parkhead. Celtic are a really good side. No problem saying that, because that's half the point of the fact that we went there today when they were desperate to get a win, right? They really want it. So all that nonsense that you'll be getting off people in work tomorrow or whatever, or on the WhatsApps of, it was a training game, it was a dead rubber, didn't care. New interim manager, it's Barry Ferguson in our dugout. They wanted to put down a statement after we've just had a cracking European result, and they put everything into it. And they thought that they had the momentum. They did in that second half have the momentum, and it looked like they could. And then the wee Moroccan magician steps out of the sand dunes and sticks one in the top corner. So it's a huge week for the club. The 49ers investment team have been treated to 2 cracking days, right? You're looking at it and you're going, momentum is a wonderful thing when it's positive. And we've went from having negative momentum, unfortunately, under Philippe Clement towards the end, to a week that you couldn't have asked more for. You know what I mean? You've put out Jose Mourinho, went to the quarterfinals, and just beaten Celtic in their own backyard when they've tried their hardest to beat you, and done it in a way that was magnificent. So I am delighted, and Barry Ferguson should be as well.
Absolutely. Plenty of comments coming in on Barry Ferguson already. Hugo Bear saying mentality is completely different compared to Gio, Beale and Clement. Cubby Cubster saying very well done, Barry and coaching staff. This team is starting to show desire and real character. Dado Purzo Blue Boots saying got the tactics spot on. And then Luke Gibson 97 saying British managers just work at Rangers. Clement is more experienced than Ferguson, but Barry and his staff know Rangers and Scottish football. Kyran, one of the things about, I guess, that what Gibson 97 just said there around Barry just gets Rangers and Scottish football, I've probably played down a lot in the past, the importance of that, and I've probably almost disregarded it and at some stages as being an important factor in actually saying I'd much rather an experienced football manager who has proven himself elsewhere in the game and has a clear idea of how they want to play, etc. But Barry Ferguson seems to have come in and just galvanised everyone within that squad, within that team, got them all working for each other for the first time in however many years, got us playing various different systems. I would say within different games, but even within the same game, we're changing system. Which I mean, I can't remember the last time that I saw us doing that, to be honest. And he talks a lot about how him and his coaching staff, Neil McCann, Billy Dodds, etc., are trying to instill the mentality and tell them and just reinforce how important it is and what it means to be a Rangers player. I've kind of disregarded that kind of approach in the past, I think, but it's clearly working for this group of players. And is it something that you place a big importance on, or is this, I guess, the last few weeks kind of making you sit up and reassess that?
No, I agree. 100% agree that it's extremely important. And I think I was on the same boat with you, Craig, because a lot of the examples that were thrown at us was the guys like Kyogo or Maeda or when Ange Postecoglou came to Celtic. Did they know what it was all about there and what it was all about to play in Scotland and going to tricky away grounds? And you're kind of beginning to say, right, well, maybe there is a point there, but it's a wee bit different at Rangers. Barry's press conference the other day when he spoke about going 120 minutes the other night, that won't be an excuse this weekend. When you play at Rangers, you have got to be ready to play 120 minutes and then go 90 minutes at Parkhead again. Being tired isn't an excuse at Rangers, and I think that's just been the mantra for too long. You look back to Clement and some of the red zone stuff for the sports science and almost giving players an out for being tired. I don't know if any of you guys seen the interview when he spoke about Czerny and someone saying, is Czerny going to be fit for the game? We heard he was tired the other night, and Barry kind of said, no, that's all in his head. He will be fine. He'll be absolutely fine. Tiredness is in his head. And it's more that there's been too much cuddles and arms around the shoulders at the training ground and at Ibrox, more about up the arse. And I think that's what Ferguson's done for them. He's instilled that bit of steel that made him such a success at Rangers and such a successful Rangers captain, that if you want to win at Rangers and you want to be successful at Rangers, you've got to be willing to go to war. And that's what we've seen the past Thursday and today. These players went to the well, and by God, we've got the result and we've got the reward for it. I'm absolutely buzzing, mate. And yeah, hopefully we keep going towards the end of the season. I know the only thing that we've got to still play for is Europa League, but there's a lot of pride at stake, and that guy in the dugout is really going to want to leave with his reputation intact.
100%, and we'll come on to I think a topic that's starting to be discussed of should Barry Ferguson be is he putting himself in the frame for being the long-term answer. We'll come on to that a bit later on, but on today's game, Tommy, I think previously in Old Firm games it took Philippe Clement however many 5-6 games to kind of get his head around how to approach Celtic, and I think as Rangers fans, we all know the way to beat Celtic is to be aggressive and to press them, because they're not comfortable with that in any way. They make mistakes, and that's how you get them. You win the ball high up the park, you hit them on the counter attack, and that's how you beat Celtic. And we've known that for pretty much since the Steven Gerrard years. I think probably as long as that, but each manager seems to try and approach it differently. I had no such doubts today that we would be pressing them high from the very start, and that's exactly what we got. And the start in these games is so important, and we just pressed Celtic from the get-go, and it really worked. And I thought we were the stronger team right from the start, and we got the rewards from Nico Raskin's header for the first goal.
Aye, spot on, and a cracking header it is too. We were a threat from set pieces. I think all those things are absolutely true. The bigger thing, or on top of it, I should say, is taking chances. So historically, when we've had patches where we play really, really well, we don't take the chances. As it was, you get in 2-0 up, and you're going, right, hold on, it could have been more. I mean, I'm not saying Celtic didn't have chances; they clearly did, right? You're going to expect that, but we've always found ourselves in a pattern of, we've dominated that 15-minute section or whatever, no managed to take a chance, had clear-cut chances, not buried them, luck's not fell our way, whatever. But this time, we did it, and there were good goals. You know what I mean? Particularly the finish of the second one. Actually, I'm a big fan of the calmness, but we'll get to that. And then you go right.
Assist as well, Tommy. Sorry to butt in there. The assist is a beauty, and that's meant.
You're absolutely spot on. Yeah, you're absolutely spot on. Listen, I'll give the Ballon d'Or to all three of them. Right? It's as simple as that. Right? I'm all in on this. Right? But with the Barry Ferguson stuff, we talk about that later. Though I think maybe a bit early. But in terms of the way that we set up, yeah, there was absolutely no regard for Celtic in their own home. We went there and we went straight for their throat. We were making them make mistakes. I'm sure somebody came out with the stats, but they're unforced errors, I feel like, or they're forced errors, because we were pressing them really high. They couldn't play their patterns. They couldn't get into the rhythm of the game. And all of a sudden, we found ourselves up. And then it was a case of, right, could we actually get to half time and not do something stupid and concede? We'll get to the second half in a minute. But, that's what you're looking for from Rangers, and that's what Barry Ferguson and his coaching team. And you're right to call out the coaching team. We'll take a moment there, because they're having the likes of Billy Dodds, who might come across as a quiet guy, but it's absolutely not. Your likes of Neil McCann, all of those players would have had zero mistaken expectations of what was desirable and expected when they crossed that line this morning.
Yeah, Kieran, Tommy mentioned that we took our chances today in that first half. I was actually really frustrated because I felt like we weren't taking our chances in that first half.
Well, I should say I'd literally just tweeted out, I think on This Is Ibrox account, a great 35 minutes or whatever. Maybe the only complaint is we've not scored a second. And Diomande went, shut up. There you go.
But yeah, Kieran, I think we were creating chances, and that's a big thing in itself, because it's felt as a team throughout this season we've not really been creating too many chances in games. We've especially domestically, we've not really been giving ourselves a fair shot at goal that you would expect. But today we did, and I thought there was plenty of opportunities. Obviously, the goal from the corner. Shortly after that, we seemed to think corners were obviously a tactic. We thought, we're bigger than them. We're going to be as aggressive as we possibly can to win every single cross ball. James Tavernier, I think, apart from the first one, avoided the first man, which was pleasing to see. But straight after we scored the first one, Leon Balogun nearly scored a second one. I think it was Schmeichel had to make a save on the line there. Schmeichel then passed it straight to Czerny. If Czerny had a right foot, that would have been 2-0. There were plenty of opportunities in there, but I was actually getting frustrated that we weren't taking them. How were you feeling about that point?
How often have we watched games at Parkhead where we're on the front foot and we don't take these chances and we wind up with a draw or a defeat? We started in the front foot, and I'll say something, I don't think Schmeichel's had a good game against us. That first half hour against us, he was very ropey. The corner which left to our goal, I thought should have been a comfortable save for him, but listen, who cares? Let's not talk about them. The header from Raskin, think back to Proper's goal in the 3-0 game at Ibrox, very, very like it. Loses his marker, hits the front post and flicks to the back post. It's a great finish, this one, because he gets up some height. And then Czerny just looked a threat right throughout, and we were getting after them. We really were. Something which I noticed, I felt like we were comfortable for them to play the ball out to Alistair Johnson, because he can be a bit loose in possession, and we were getting a wee bit of joy out, sort of winning the ball out that side. And if you remember the one, I think Dessers breaks inside, Ridvan to his left, Czerny to his right, and he just overhits the pass a wee bit. Again, these wee chances start to build up, and you're thinking, please don't do this. And then just a bit of quality. The forward run from Raskin, who has been just unbelievable. That he had that wee dip, let's be honest, but this season, I think he's the front runner for our Player of the Year award. Obviously, the best Belgian centre mid in Scotland, as we found out this week. James Tavernier, lovely clipped ball, and that assist from Raskin is meant. You see how he flicks it into Dio's path, and Dio's not got a lot of time to think about that. So his first touch is very good to just knock it out his feet and give himself space to shoot. And you know something, I said that a couple of weeks ago. I think we had the conversation around a lot of the players, and Diomande was one of them. Given that we'd had the home defeats in a row, and folk were saying Diomande's not good enough for the money we paid. And I think the response I gave was Diomande would be much better in a different system. The past 3 games we've seen him in a different system, and we've seen a different Diomande. Today 100%. I thought he was excellent. Ran his race though after the hour mark. He was one of the guys where I think Ferguson was asking him to do a job, and he just didn't have the legs to keep going. Thought he was brilliant again.
He was screaming at him at one point. You're absolutely right, Kieran. There was a part where he wasn't closing his man down, and he was screaming that. But
this is another bit. I'm going to say it just now before I forget it later on with Ferguson. Ferguson changed up the midfield there. He then went to a 2-2. I think it's what everybody talks about, the box that he likes to play in there as opposed to the diamond. He noticed the danger that they were starting to overrun us in the midfield, and you know what? That's expected given the week that we've had, that we were going to tire at some point. Changed it up to the box, thought, right, Diamande's getting a wee bit tired there, we're having to take chances going forward, and brought on Hadji, and I thought it was a smart move. So credit to him, but yeah, what a first half. And credit to Jack Butland as well. He had a wee shaky moment with the kicking, a couple of big saves, and Dujon Stelling as well. My God, that's a clearance for the ages. Yeah. That is sheer reflexes and putting the ball instinctively wide. Very, very outstanding clearance, that.
Yeah. It's also it's interesting on this, right? Because it speaks to your question, Craig, right? The perception you come away from, quite rightly, right? We were front foot and we were forcing errors. But in that first half, you're looking at, like, for those who like stats and all that type of stuff, Celtic walked away with like 70% possession in that first half. You know, and we only had like 4 shots on goal to their 3, in there somewhere. So you're thinking, actually, they dominated the ball, but we were letting them dominate the ball in spaces that were absolutely anemic. And then when they tried to move forward and play their game, they were having to, ping it long, or they were running into corridors that we could just close them out. Whereas we were always starting really far forward and really aggressive to get in amongst them. And that was the difference. So, whilst we didn't have tons and tons of the ball, we were just dangerous and we were after them. And that is the absolute sea change there, because it felt like we were always in their faces. And they felt that as well in that first half.
Sorry to keep going on about the tactical side of things. Do you know what I liked as well? Like, how many times have we been undone by that underlap and run, where it's either Johnson down one side, usually Greg Taylor on the other side? I think that's where the shape played into that a wee bit today, because it allowed, if we were getting underlapped on Tav's side or we were getting underlapped on Ridvan's side, Balogun or Sterling was then allowed to go over and cover. And we still had two centre-backs sitting in place, given that we were playing a back three or a back five, whichever way you want to look at it. I think that really worked big time, because albeit the first goal as it made us, I think that's the only time they really hit the byline, but that wasn't from that underlap and run that we've seen ourselves undone with so many times.
Yeah.
So tactically, again, you've got to give credit to the coaching staff, because they didn't really create much in that sense, did they?
Absolutely not, and I think you never need to apologise, Kyran, for talking more about the tactical stuff. We've got an hour of content to fill here, so fill your bits.
He's only ever borderline apologising for interrupting me as well. I mean, I can see that dropping off after.
Just be polite, it's Sunday.
You're too nice, Kyran. You're too nice.
I'm keen to stick on the midfield for a little bit, actually, because I'm keen to kind of focus on each of them for different reasons. I'll come to Nico Raskin in a minute, but I want to start with Mohamed Diomande, because I think you're right, Kyran, in what you said around the last three games. We've really seen a difference in Mohamed Diomande and what he can do. And a lot of people were sceptical of it must be the system is the reason why he's not playing as well. And a lot of people were saying he's just not as good as we hoped he would be. I think we're seeing over the last few weeks that absolutely it's the system that was holding him back, and we're seeing a different type of Diomande, more towards the Diomande that we expected. His goal, calmness personified, I think, Tommy, is the best way to describe that. But what I loved, and I did not expect it from Diomande, was the celebration, because he clearly just hates Celtic as much. And I don't know if it's a recent thing that's just been instilled in them. Nico Raskin 100% is one of the players that absolutely gets it. But outside of that, everyone else, you were kind of like, not sure if they really don't like him as much as we don't. And then that celebration from Diomande was not what I expected, when he's just a quiet, unassuming guy, isn't he? And then he comes out with that. It was good to see from a number of perspectives.
Yeah, I look forward to the front pages being dominated by the fact that, gun crime in Scotland has gotten out of control. Evidently, you know what I mean? You've got that and water pistols later on. So it was pistols at dawn everywhere, so to speak. But no, listen, if you're seeing players in a team get fired up like that and get in the faces of, rival fans and doing it in the right way, and that is the right way to do it, by the way, there's no issues with it. That's a good thing. I want to see all that type of stuff. What this team need to do, and it's not a night for naysaying. Go and do it consistently, right? And be able to brag about it, because you don't brag after one game, you brag by winning trophies and all that, right? But tonight's about the fact that one game means something, and we've won it. So if we're seeing players starting to get it, or there's a better cohesiveness, or they're having fun at training, whatever kind of cliches genuinely come out from players and all that, brilliant. Take it to everybody, because we've had to have it rubbed in our faces for quite long enough when we've fallen flat. So people should be big enough to take it on their shoulders. You know what I mean? Dry their eyes. Take the rain when it comes as well, so to speak, and take the pistols and all that type of stuff. But before they kind of finish and let somebody else jump back in, just in that midfield, don't want to walk past Conor Barron today.
Yeah.
Certainly second half the whole team kind of dipped a wee bit, but first half, into everything. And that's what you need sometimes, and we've spoken about it here. People who are going to work, people who get it, people who want to go and earn the jersey that they've been privileged enough to get to start a match like this. And I think he pretty much earned his jersey as well, snapping into stuff and not giving people a minute's peace. That's what you need sometimes.
100%. Kyran, Conor Barron, I think he came in out of the blue really for the Fenerbahce away game. He hadn't really been seen anywhere near the starting lineup for a while, and he came in and he's he's 100% proved his worth again over the last 3 games. I think he's really quiet and unassuming in what he does, but he's really dogged in his effort and his attitude towards the game. And actually, he does the dirty work to allow Raskin and Diomande to kind of fly up the other end of the park. How important and how much do you think we're missing Connor Barron during his period out the team?
It's a hard one to answer. Do you know that? Like, I had the conversation during the match when we were trying to assess things with my family that I was watching it with, and we were talking about Barron and his importance to the game itself. On Barron as a whole over the season, right, I don't think Barron is a player that starts week in, week out for us. But games like this, games like Fenerbahce, games like away to, Nice, where he was outstanding as well. These are the type of games where we need a worker in there, somebody that's going to shut down all over the field. He's going to break up play and he's going to give it to the guys to allow them to play. You mentioned there, Craig, him letting Ridvan and Diomande go forward. Just look at the second goal. Our 2 centre mids are assisting and scoring inside the 18-yard box. And that's what he gives you, that sort of cover with the amount of ground he gives. Old Firms are perfect games for Barron, albeit I think the last game at Parkhead was a learning curve from him because one of their goals came from his slack pass into Czerny. We've come a long way in big games since then, but no, I think Barron is really adhering himself to the fans. Everybody loves a good, hard-working Scottish player that will snap into tackles, that will break up play and get in the face of the opponent. I thought he was very good today. I think people think that he's not involved too much in the game because he can fall in and out in terms of possession, but the work that he's doing off the ball to try and protect that back four is excellent. So, yeah, he's a good signing. He's grown as a player. Let's not forget, he's still young and he's starting to play in bigger games. If we remember as well, but a nightmare at home against Lyon where slack passing again. So you can see where he needs to improve. Was it his interview last week or when he done a presser on Wednesday? And he had mentioned about how Barry Ferguson took him under his wing a bit and trying to coach out the weaknesses in his game, and he's been staying behind after training and doing that bit extra work. These are the type of things that you want to see, and I don't know if they didn't, but I don't really believe that the guys would have been doing this with Clermont. Could be wrong there, but you weren't hearing these things in the press conferences.
Just one thing to add to that as well. You're absolutely spot on. He's still young, he's growing, and I think they've identified there's still some kind of bits to his game. As good as he was, I think he loses his man for the second.
Yeah,
switches off. Runner. He doesn't quite track him into the box.
I think just switches off a wee bit. For the second goal, there were about 5 players that switched off. At that point, the gap left by Suter was.
I'm not picking on him individually. There was a collective thing. It was I think I'd said in our group and all that as well in the WhatsApp that it was a sloppy one, and it was a collectively sloppy one that second.
Yeah, we'll go and talk about the second half a little bit, but just sticking on Connor Barron. Luke Gibson 97. Barron is essential in away games, not necessarily at home versus the lesser side.
Yeah, exactly my point.
Rangers on tour saying Barron highlights we missed a 3 in midfield and not a 2-3-1 ahead of a flat 4. AJ saying Barry like us all, see we weren't dominating any teams, we did midfield to dictate the game. Tommy, I think on Nico Raskin, since he's came back from his injury towards the end of last calendar year, I think he's been more towards the Nico Raskin we were expecting to see. The style of play, he seems to have hopefully gotten rid of the sort of the injuries that he's kind of struggled with a little bit, and now he's on a proper run of form. He's also just been called up to the Belgian national senior squad for the first time. How impressive has Nico Raskin been as a whole, and how much do you see him growing, I guess, in games like Fenerbahce, games like today, and just growing as a player and a character and a leader within the Rangers team?
I think it's that last one for me that's the big one. Don't think anybody ever doubted his ability on the ball. He could add more goals in, but that comes. Getting further forward, that comes. We always knew that he could read the game, could pass the ball, could influence, could break up play, all that type of good stuff. But he's starting to emerge as a proper leader in the middle of the park. and getting box to box, and he's clearly respected in the squad as well. Getting that international recognition, great for him, great for the club because he's still an asset. All of that stuff it's just really positive, right? Now, again, it's staying injury-free, it's being consistent, doing it over the course of a season. But if you're looking at Nico Raskin and you're saying he stays fit, he plays games, he bosses it, he emerges in the dressing room as a real leader, he's adding goals in, and by the way, he's a Belgian international. I mean, there's no downside to anything you've just said there. And if that continues, there comes a point in time where he leaves. But he leaves on goodwill and he leaves on a good income for the club. So, we've got real positivity around about him right now. And I think if he just stays injury free and keeps delivering this and listens to somebody who was quite clearly a top midfielder in his day as well, in Barry Ferguson, then he's only going to get better. But yeah, I thought he's been immense this week and been on a great run. I'm constantly just pulled up with the fact that his ability to read the game and break up play, it's instinctive. And that's gold dust, that stuff.
Yeah, it absolutely is. I think we can really see him developing now, and yeah, it's going to be one that probably will leave Rangers sooner than a lot of fans would want to see him leave Rangers. But it's great to see him.
Can I pick up on something funny here, Craig? I don't know if everyone in the comments or that have seen it. I sent it into our chat. At Ramp Raskin on Twitter, or X, whatever we're calling it, tweeted yesterday, saying, F it, if Raskin scores on Sunday and we win, I am getting his name tattooed on my arse, and in brackets, we'll post proof afterwards. Raskin has since shared it with the side emoji, so there's no going back for this.
Yeah, that's one of those ones you're just like, yeah, full of regret as soon as you see him score the first goal, aren't you, Parkhead?
Yes, no chance to turn the other cheek on that bet, so to speak.
Yeah, 2-0 up at half time. Tommy, completely unexpected. Not what I thought we'd see.
Deserved.
Fully deserved, and I think we were much the better team in that first half. We didn't really give Celtic a sniff at all in any way. What Kyran had mentioned at the start, that's kind of a difficult result. If you go in at half time at 2-0, do you stick or twist with it? Given the tiredness that I think we all knew would probably come through at some point within the starting 11. In my head, I was just like, I was starting to chunk up the games into time periods. To just try and get to 60 minutes still at 2-0, just try then get to 75, and it lasted the whole 3 minutes, and it was 2-1. But where was that your kind of mindset at half time as well, in terms of just
we all do that. We all do that. If we get to 60. Right, that cuts the time down. If we just get to 75, that cuts down. And then I find myself like, we're 3-2 up, and there's like 2 seconds to go, and I'm still closing my eyes, going, anything could happen here, right? So we all do that, right? It's the nature of the game, and it drives you crazy. But
I do that on my working day.
Your boss is listening, going like that. We never expected him to call it a working day because he's not done a stitch of work in his life, right? Back to normal stuff, right? Which is, yeah, I mean, obviously you're right about the stick or twist, but I think if it's working, yeah, you're worried about fatigue and all that type of good stuff. How long can we keep up that press? Yada yada yada. Right? At some point, Celtic were going to come back into it because, as I said, they're a good side, right? And they've got muscle memory there of how to break teams down. But don't change it too much. Don't fall into the fallacy of trying to sit back. What it was a poor goal to lose really quickly. It was the sum of all fears if you're Barry Ferguson. Do not go out there in the first 3 minutes and concede a goal. And sure enough, whatever it was, we just kind of go to sleep. It gets to the byline, knocks it back. I think it's Tav, etc. Just fall asleep a wee bit. Maeda gets the run on and puts it in. And it couldn't have been any worse because it gave their team a lift. It gave their fans a lift. And you could tell for the next 5-10 minutes, we were visibly wobbling. I think if they'd have got their second at that point, it would have turned into a very, very different game because all the old fears were there round about. Oh, we look ropey, we look nervous on the ball, we're no covering spaces, they were cutting us up. All of a sudden, they just stepped 25 yards forward and were pushing us in. But again, you ride your luck in every single game sometimes, and we weathered it and we battened it down, and next thing you know, we're starting to get back on the ball again. So Aye, but I mean, if Barry Ferguson, I'm sure he was pulling his hair out. If the one thing, guys, don't concede an early one in the second half. All right, okay. No bother.
Yeah, and
I
also
can laugh about it now, obviously.
don't concede a carbon copy of most goals you've conceded at Celtic Park over the last 4 years. Kieran, how frustrating was that? That it was
check the rear view mirror. Just check the rear view mirror and see who's behind you.
Kieran, how frustrating was that? It was obviously James Tavernier had Maida got up above him straight away, but Dujon Stellan was there as well, and Maida was up above him. How frustrating was that that was the type of goal that we lost at that moment?
Yeah, it just got to be defended better there. Again, we've seen that movie so many times. Same actors, different movie. Or yeah, a lot of people comments I'm seeing coming in about Butland's distribution. I get that, and I get that it's led to that goal, and they've broke from midfield there and they've cut us open. But let's not forget, like, Butland kept us in this game at some points, and an assist that led to the winner. So let's not be too harsh on him. He's gives a fantastic week. In terms of the goal itself, it just looked far too easy. They deliver it to the back post as well. It's hung up in there for how long? I don't know. We've got to defend it so much better. Especially, it's not like you've got a bulldozer and Mark Haitley coming in at the back post to batter it into the net for them. It's Maeda. He's hardly 6'5", and you've got to be stronger, especially when you do have a full back and a centre back there. And like Tommy says, it's just the worst time possible to lose a goal when you've got a 2-0 lead, because then their fans get right up for it, and we've seen how much an influence their fans can be on the team, and you could feel that they were trying to push them over the line, and we were looking ropey. I think we made our first substitution about 60 minutes, and that was Hadji, and there was no substitution until around about am I right in saying the triple substitution on the 80th minute, or the Balogun sub? I can't quite recall. So at that point, around about the 60, we were looking tired. We were starting to see the effects of Thursday night kicking into the players. But again, I think this is round about the point where Ferguson changed it to that box in the middle, and we started to slightly get a grip on things again, which was good. But it was disappointing. It really was disappointing, because the scar tissue started to kick in of, right, we're going to lose this. It really felt like that as soon as that goal went in, because we had seen it all before.
Did you feel like that was us as fans that had that, or did you feel like the players were giving off that vibe as well? I think pretty much from that moment, what you said is correct. That their fans got back into it. They still had 42 minutes or so still to get another goal or to get another 2 goals and go ahead. As they saw it, we looked as if we were starting to become out on our feet. A little bit of tiredness, and there it was all about trying to weather the storm at that stage.
Remember as well, we lost Balogun.
Yeah.
I lost that physicality and that bit of pace, and had to bring in Proper, who I don't think had a particularly bad game in it. Like, did his job, but more unsettling after you've conceded. I think I've interrupted you there, Craig. So, given that Kieran's shown me up for being polite and impolite, I will apologise for interrupting.
At least apologising.
Apologise for nothing. Back, double down.
Fine, Tommy. Kieran will apologise for you.
Right, sorry about him, Craig. What were you saying?
I really thought you were going to try and put the voice on there, Kieran, for a second.
Yeah, I felt like, from my perspective, I was thinking, and I had that same mentality as what you described there, in terms of just like, there's 42 minutes left. Celtic are on the up. We will look like we're toiling a bit. The turn's going to come in. This is just going to end up 3 or 4-2 to Celtic. We managed to weather the storm, I guess, to about I think 60 minutes, going back to the targets in the game. I think we got to 60 minutes, and I was like, right, okay, we've got over the worst of this. Their fans started to not be as vociferous and not be as loud as they had been for the 10 minutes after the goal, kind of thing. We were struggling to get out. I felt we were struggling to get up the park and even keep hold of the ball for a decent length of time. How difficult do you think that period was for the players and for us as a team to try and get through? I know Celtic did just shortly after that did score their second, but that period in particular felt like they were in the eye of the storm a bit.
Yeah, I think for us as fans, it was a wee bit worse because we've been through it. We've been through it for far too long. And don't get me wrong, they're going to have their day this season with the ultimately win the league. But for us, in terms of character, and you think back to Thursday night again, I know I keep going back to it, but there's got to be part of the players that have been saying, right, we were dead in our feet on Thursday night. We weathered that storm and we've come through it. We're in the quarterfinals of a European Cup. So I think there was a wee bit of that with the players today. In particular, John Souttar, I thought he led from the back and he was brilliant again. Just a solid defender and one that we've got to get the contract sorted on. Just get that sorted out, sign him up for the rest of these days. He's been a real asset this season. When fit, let's add that into it. But the players looked more dead in their feet, but they weren't giving up. Let's look at it that way. I can't remember screaming at anybody thinking they weren't working hard enough. And do you know something? When Barry the other night, I'm saying Barry as if he's my mate, when Barry Ferguson said the other night about the dark arts and how we need to be better at it, I think we started to see a wee bit of that creeping in with guys going down with injuries or whatever you want to call it, cramp, just sort of breaking the momentum. I think it was Raskin was the one, they were on the ascendancy and I think they got a throw in near the corner flag and they had just been battering our backline and Raskin goes down with, I think he was holding his calf or something like that and just killing the momentum a bit. Like how many times have we watched other teams do this to us, especially the smaller teams in the league, where it just kills our momentum when we're trying to get back into games. We've seen that today. I think there was one dubious call for the ref as well, where Carter Vickers wiped out Dessers off the ball and we're going through on goal. I think it was Ridvan down the left trying to play on Dessers. We get nothing for it, but Dessers stayed down for a wee 30 seconds to a minute longer, just broke up the time, give us a breather, give us a rest, and all these wee things add up. And it worked today. And again, we talk about how the team have improved under Ferguson and what the differences have been. We were far too nicey under Clement. We've seen it under different managers as well. We're a soft touch and a pushover, especially against them. Today, that wasn't the case.
Yeah, 100%. Sorry, I just got caught reading all the comments there. To the side, you can't do two things at once. I think that's right, though. I think we really struggled in that period, and we managed to come through it. The disappointing thing was that it was just a few minutes later in Celtic where it was 2 each. I think for me that was a sucker punch to us, and I saw no other outcome than Celtic winning that game at that stage. Tommy, was that kind of where your head was?
Yeah, I think the main story there is to the listeners and the watchers. Craig's always looking for people to say nice things about him in the comments, right? So to make sure he says something nice when he sees it, right?
Always.
Please feel free to save all your abuse for me and Kyran. By that I mean Kyran.
Right, I'm not going to apologise for butting in this time, but that's 2 pods and I know you've encouraged abuse in my way.
I'm really sorry. I didn't realise you were keeping score. Right, so I'll be going. Please, I will take the abuse this time. I think that's a very fair shout. Yeah, very fair shout. My sincere apologies, mate. But no, I've managed to totally forget your question. If I'm being honest here.
I've completely derailed this full thing, Tommy. When Celtic scored the second goal and it was 2 each.
Did they? I just remember us scoring 3. I don't care.
When Celtic scored their second goal and it went to 2 each, how my mindset was that they're just going to go ahead and get the win now, just typically as they do, because there were still 25 minutes left of the game. Yeah. They were in the ascendancy. And yeah, I thought they were just going to go ahead and take the win. Was that your kind of mentality at that stage? Because as I said previously to Kyran, we weren't creating anything. We weren't really getting out of our own half a great deal. The players were looking out on their feet. There wasn't really much to cling on to at that stage.
Yeah, no, I think you're always, like I said before, I think Celtic are always going to come back into it, right? And they got their tails up with that first one and they were working their way into the game. I thought we were tiring. We were tiring in midfield. We weren't, I think Kyran touched on it earlier on, you know, people weren't massively tracking their men. You could see it in the legs. I think everybody, if you looked at Rangers Twitter, right, or X, or whatever it's bloody called, right, that was the kind of slew of comments. We were the same, saying it's starting to get a bit leggy in there. And then it's a bit of a sloppy one. People not tracking runners. We've spoken about Barron, but there was a couple of others in there, and they just played round us. And it's a neat enough finish. And as you say, then they're on to it, and that's that they've pulled back a 2-goal deficit. We're in danger of throwing away a 2-goal lead, or rather have thrown away a 2-goal lead at that point. And all the momentum had swung towards them. And again, it was that case of, oh, is it coming? Are we going to, get out of here with maybe the draw? Do we have enough in the tank to go and win it? Because we were still, it wasn't massive chances. I think we only had one shot on target in that second half, right? And we will come to that shot at a certain point in time, I'm sure, right? But it's coming all the way from Morocco. So, we weren't massively, dominating. They had their tails up. They'd got back into it. They were level pegging. All the weight was with them. And, I don't care what anybody says. We've got that scar tissue. Players in that park have got that scar tissue. And it felt like we're going to watch this movie again here. We've dominated the first half. We've taken chances. We've thrown away a 2-goal lead here. This is a nightmare. Didn't quite work out that way, though. It's all about riding your luck sometimes.
Yeah, it didn't work out that way. And actually, I felt like after that moment where Celtic did get back to 2 each, they kind of stopped creating stuff. I didn't really know. Didn't really think there was too much danger coming our way, albeit they were still dominating possession. I didn't see us scoring a third. I didn't see that coming. But Kyran, it did come 88th minute. A long ball from Jack Butland. Many defensive mistakes from Celtic. I think Carter Vickers ducks out the way. Alistair Johnson slips. Egeman picks the ball up. I was praying for him to shoot. I was always screaming at the TV for him to shoot, and he was just dwelling on it. And he gets a bit of the rub of the green with Alistair Johnson's attempted tackle, and then he just hits an absolute thunderbolt. And Chris Sutton described it as it stayed hit, and I think that's the best way to describe that shot, because it did not slow down at any moment until it hit the back of the net, and there was no way two goalkeepers were saving that, never mind one.
I think if there was no net or the stand behind that, it would have took it the forge. It was this is going to be one of these Old Firm games that we watch for years to come. He has hit it and then some, and we know that Egeman's got this in his locker. I think I said it before the game in our group chat that I maybe would have started Egeman up front, given that he's done well against him the past 2 games.
Would you start him despite? I mean, he's not been in good form at all. Like he's not. I thought on Thursday night he was atrocious, for want of a better description, because he was terrible at pressing. He was trying to do too much. It was like he knew Amrabat was playing for the other team, and he was just trying to impress his fellow countrymen. But he was trying far too much, trying too hard, but not doing the hard yards of pressing and all of that sort of stuff. I don't think Egeman's played well since maybe the Aberdeen game. It was never in my mind that he would start today, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm on board with that, with the trying too hard stuff. You think of the Egeman that we had before that FCSB goal, where he was sort of all over the place and trying too hard and trying to impress. And I think you get that with the inconsistency of a young player. And then he went on that streak of, 11 goals in 10 games. And then it's been a while since he's scored like that again. Don't get me wrong, this guy's still developing as a player and got a very deserved call-up as well to the Moroccan team. It comes with all the caveats of what we said about Raskin earlier on the show, that it's fully deserved and it benefits the club massively. But I still would have, given the power of work that Dessers went through on Thursday night, Egeman, okay, I thought what he'd done today was what he was trying to do a few times on Thursday to kind of shift it onto the right and hit. But he's up against Skriniar the other night, who I thought was outstanding. Today, though, different story. He came on, I think the first thing he done was, who was it? He leathered. He absolutely leathered somebody. Was it Hatate? He went right through somebody.
Was it not Yang?
Yang. He's went right through.
Was that maybe that Ridvan? I think Yang was screaming away and stuff like that as well. Yeah.
Putting about a wee bit with your first foul in an Old Firm game is something that, again, we've not done enough. Yeah. So, yeah, he laid his mark early. That chance there, what a finish, honestly. What a finish. Like, left the keeper with absolutely no chance. Schmeichel's nowhere near it. It sat up nicely for him. And how many times have you seen players trying to tiptoe around that and slide it in the bottom corner? He's taking no chances there. He smashed it into the roof of the net, and the celebrations after it were just fantastic. He loved every second of it and absolutely deserves it. And how good is it having strikers that can come on and make a difference? How long have, even our last Europa League run, we struggled through with injured strikers, and Joe Aribo up front were probably a striker away in that run to winning a European Cup and possibly winning the league. How good is it to have fit strikers for a change that can come on and make a difference? Like, absolutely brilliant. Igaman's going to be remembered for years to come after that goal today, albeit doesn't go for much. It's just another 3 points, but it means something to us getting a win at Parkhead. It really does.
100%. Blue Bells are blue. Your super chats are very much appreciated, as well as your donations. We'll go on to the point I think you're trying to make.
I'm not facing into the first one.
No. Yeah, but we won't bring those up on the screen just in case there's any families watching.
Yes, what I would say though is, you're talking about Igaman's shot and how powerful it was. It was so powerful, it set off one of the sprinklers quite near the Celtic support. And I think and that's something they should probably look into from a maintenance perspective.
Yeah, quite after we saw the celebrations, the camera panned to more than a handful of Celtic fans trying to get to the Rangers bench. No one really knew why. Sky Sports never really showed any angles of anything at all, but it was on social media that I saw it for the first time. But it does appear that Václav Černý, in his moment of joy, just effectively sprays the Celtic fans with water as he runs along the touchline to go and celebrate. It's fair to say that they didn't take too kindly to it. I think one of them could be lip read to saying, "I'm the victim here." And
well, that's shocker. That's a shocker of a comment. I'm stunned.
So yeah, I think it brought a little bit of added fun to the moment, Tommy, as well. And Barry Ferguson sidestepped the question really well in his post-match interview. At the same
to be
time.
fair, right, if you watch that back, Černý runs along. So just put my legal head on for a second. Černý runs along, and there's a spray of water, but you don't see the two things together, right? So there's absolutely no proof that Václav Černý sprayed the Celtic support with water. That could be anything. There was inclement weather on the forecast. There was the sprinkler system. It could have been any number of things, right? And I think it's really important that we don't denigrate the good name of a Rangers player. And I'm sure the Celtic fans will be having a class action conversation to see how much they can get in compensation as we speak.
Yeah, I think it just added that wee bit of a wee bit of a cherry on top of the cake at that moment in time. But the memes on
Steve, to be honest with you, right? Joking aside, if that was to have happened, right, hypothetically, but it speaks to the earlier conversation of Diomandi's celebration and everybody getting it and wanting to get in people's faces, including those who have baited them for quite a while and would have had to have some bad performances and stuff like that. So, you give it out, you maybe take it back a wee bit, and if the players have reacted to that, then I don't have a problem with that at all.
Yeah, Kieran, a few questions in the comments around. Do you think he'll get a ban for it?
Can I just say on that celebration? Sorry, I'm apologising to you again. What am I doing? Just keep it on the celebration. But I don't know if you noticed Barry Ferguson, the bit where he's picked up the ball. You could immediately see the bit in his head where it said to himself, "I'm not that player or the fan in the stands anymore. I'm the manager of Rangers." Like, calm down. It was almost like he was going to do the Mourinho and run to the corner flag.
He did a wee jump. You could see him. He was going for it, and he did a wee jump, and then picked the ball up and went right. Take it back and say the technical area.
It was the fact that he picked the ball up and looked at it and then kissed it. All he wanted to do there was just punt it as hard as he could. And either up in the air or into the stands or something. He just wanted to kick the football.
Just to get back to it, the good thing is if that's you know what he's like, right? And if that's been translated to the team in the right way, which it obviously was, which go out and play with, I'm trying to recall the Neil McCann comment, fire in the heart, ice in the veins, I think it was, when he was a player. If you're transmitting that in the right way and you're getting that level of aggression out of the team and that level of justification and wanting to get into people's faces and do things, but they're doing it in the right way by playing good football, snapping into tackles, winning it, chasing men down, scoring goals, I'll take that every single day of the week.
Yeah, 100%. Carrying on to the point I was just asking there around questions in the comments around, do you think Kyran will get a ban for that? I don't actually know if it's something that would be picked up on. I assume the police would maybe potentially raise it if it caused some sort of fan unrest or something like that, but I don't really know, to be honest. Hopefully not.
Let's be honest, in the grand scheme of things, it's if he did do it, I mean, Tommy's trying to go down a forensic route, but we're still not sure if he actually did do it.
The word if or allegedly are very powerful words in any scenario. I would use them liberally.
Yes, innocent until proven guilty. Getting sprayed by water, look, it's not... He's hardly throwing lava into the crowd, this. He's getting sprayed by water. Let's look at this in the bigger picture. It would be crazy to see him getting a ban from it. Although I can see the side that they'll go down is that it could have sort of brought on a riot from the fans and stuff who seem to be offended by absolutely anything that's thrown their way. You didn't really see the full thing of what spilled out with the dugouts and the fans trying to get to the dugouts and stuff like that. No idea. But yeah, I think Ferguson did handle it well. One of you guys said it as well. He gave the old Arsene Wenger if I didn't really see it. So.
Yeah, he did. Tommy, away fans were back in this fixture for the first time in a long time. How big a difference do you think that made, especially to us?
Oh, great difference. The team had a very, very vocal. Kudos to every single one of that away support because, was it 2,500 were out singing an entire stadium, and tannoy systems and music and all that. What you could hear was Rangers. And they gave something to the team. The team gave them something to sing about. It wasn't just, we're here to make noise and we're getting beat or whatever. The team went with it. So it's great stuff. I'm a big fan of having the fans there as much as possible. Right, I've said that before. This tit for tat stuff of pulling people out, not really for me. I like, an Old Firm game has both sets of supporters, and for each and every single one of them, once they are held back, but they're held back and the team's there in front of them, and they've just watched us beat them in their own patch. That must have been, well, I know what it's like. I've been there and we've won away as well before, but it's a cracking feeling. So kudos to every single one of them.
Yeah, Kyran, just to round us off as we're approaching the hour mark, Barry Ferguson as a longer term managerial option, I think he poured cold water on those growing flames.
Was that a water pun that you just snuck in at the end there? Is that what that was?
It was indeed. I think he poured cold water on those growing flames in his post-match press conference. In terms of it's not something that he is thinking about or considering this moment in time. But I've seen plenty of people saying the difference he's made, that it's something that they would potentially consider as something they would like to see. Where do you stand on it?
Very tough question to ask without trying to sit in the fence with the whole thing. I don't know. I really don't know. I think I've said every time I've been asked this on the pod, the new sort of consortium coming in, new owners, they're going to want to make a statement with a big name or close to a big name as the next manager. Now, between Fenerbahce and between today, it's been outstanding. We've also had losses at home under Ferguson. Let's not sort of slide out the way of that. He's saying all the right things. He's getting the fans on his side and stuff like that. And without me saying yes or no, let's try and put yourself in. Is it Andrew Kavanagh, one of the new investors that was in the crowd today? He was in the crowd in Fenerbahce game. I wonder what he's thinking. Right, the fans are absolutely roaring. The atmosphere on Thursday was unbelievable. The fans in the corner today were brilliant. Watching the two games, there must be an element of him thinking, right, this guy that they've brought in as an interim, fans absolutely love him. They're winning games. They weren't winning games when we first approached to take over here, and things have started to turn. I wonder what they're thinking right now in terms of he could be our guy. I don't know. I'm just taking my blue tinted specs off here. I'm trying to take myself out the position of just being a Rangers fan and thinking what these guys might be thinking, because ultimately these are the people that are going to make the decision on who the next manager will be. They've got to be impressed with what they're seeing.
Yeah, I think from my perspective, if try to put myself in Barry Ferguson's shoes, if he's offered it, I assume he would take it. But in terms of how he's viewing it, he's probably viewing it as, actually, look, I've just knocked out Fenerbahce and got us to the last 8 of the Europa League, just beating Celtic at Parkhead for the first time in 5 years. If I just manage through the rest of the games, get to the end of the season, and that's all that's my time as Rangers manager, and that's all I've got. He's got a really good thing to look back on, and he'll be remembered really fondly for what he's done for the club. Do you want to go in for the longer term and kind of take away from that? He said he was enjoying his media stuff. He said he was enjoying what he was doing away from the game. Do you want to go in and, I guess, as very rarely does a managerial stint ever end well or on good terms? I'm not so sure that he would choose to do that, but at the same time, I don't think he would turn it down if he was offered.
Gets reviewed at the end of the season, right? We've been hurt before here with bounces and all that type of good stuff, right? And ultimately, nothing's done. Let's see what happens in Europe, mind. But yeah, it gets reviewed at the end of the season. The investment from 49ers will have their own plans and thoughts as well. But he's done himself no harm. And to your point, if he gets offered it, I reckon Barry Ferguson rips your arm off at the elbow. Right, he's no knocking back the Rangers job. Whether he could potentially put himself into a place of joining another manager's coaching staff, that's maybe a different conversation. But yeah, I think it all gets reviewed at the end of the season.
On that, Tommy, I've seen a lot of comments suggesting that as well, that Barry would be part of a new coaching staff, right? See, now that I've seen Barry Ferguson on the sideline for Rangers, and when I say the sideline, he's almost on the pitch and he's kicking every ball. Can you see him being like that as an assistant manager? Because I really can't. And knowing the personality that he is, I can't see him being second best to somebody else, especially if he does a good job. I think what we need to see from now to the end of the season is these games against the teams out with Celtic, how we're going to approach these and how we're going to beat these teams. Because what today has proven in the 3 Old Firm games of this season in the league is that the Old Firm games in the league aren't what the issue is. It's beating these other teams, and I think that's where he needs to prove himself.
Yeah, fair shout, Kim.
Yeah, I think that is very fair and a good point to end this podcast on. So thanks very much to Tommy and to Kyran for joining us. It's been a much more enjoyable podcast than I necessarily thought it would be when I woke up this morning. Very enjoyable looking back over a 3-2 Rangers win over Celtic, and I am probably just going to go and watch Václav Černý memes for the rest of the night. So, with Hamza Gaman's goal sprinkled in there as well. But thank you very much to everyone for listening. If you enjoyed the content, drop a like on the video. Helps us a lot, as well as subscribing to the TII YouTube channel or wherever you get your audio content from, Spotify, Apple Music, etc. It means you won't miss out on any of the good stuff we've got coming up. It is international break, but we will still be here. Kyle and the team will be back on Wednesday. Couldn't remember days of the week there. Kyle and that will be back on Wednesday. So look forward to seeing you then. Thanks very much for listening. Till next time. Goodbye.